You're listening to Potty Mouth Radio, the home of movies, music, television, and comedy.
And now, the hunt for the perfect album.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Hunt for the Perfect Album with Billy and Dave for a very, very special episode. We're having a little fireside chat with someone who I'm a massive, massive fan of. It's Mark Monnone, co-founder of the Lost and Lonesome record label and, you know, stalwart of so many amazing Australian indie bands, including the Lucksmiths and Monnone Alone. How you doing, Mark? Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm doing pretty well. Sort of, cranking the brain up for the year, trying to get it unsoftenified, trying to calcify it a bit more than it is.
It's so good to chat to you, man. I just want to know, obviously, like, indie is probably your favorite style of music. I'm guessing it's what you play, it's what you seem to promote and stuff with Lost and Lonesome. What other style of music are you into? Are you quite eclectic in what you listen to?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I strictly listen to indie or rock or anything, but I guess that's the sort of realm I've fallen into by playing in certain styles of bands that are exactly that. But I love, I'm an old geezer, so I do love old music too. But yeah, I mean, I love I guess calypso music, for instance, and old reggae, soul stuff as well. I mean, I wouldn't say I've got deep knowledge in any of those areas, but I definitely love it when I'm listening to that sort of music.
Yeah.
Love a bit of Belafonte.
I
went on a big splurge, obviously, when he sadly passed, and brought up a lot of 4 or 5 different live albums of Belafonte doing various things. Love a bit of calypso.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he had a very broad career, not just calypso, obviously, but he's definitely one of the all-time greats.
Yeah.
Yep.
So speaking of the all-time greats, you, Mark, when did you start playing music? And did you start with the bass, or did you start with other instruments? Or
I started with if we sidestep a disastrous attempt at learning the trumpet in year 7, I think I was the guy. I love being in the orchestra because you can just pretend and you're just like in like 8 different trumpet players and you're like,
yeah.
But yeah, I guess I started playing guitar when I was about 12. At high school, I started getting lessons. We had a guitar teacher come to the school, and I was just atrocious for the first, I want to say 4 years, 3 or 4 years. Right. I was pretty bad, but I just had a real keenness for it, and I just stick-to-itiveness or whatever you call it. But I just was obsessed with overcoming my stumpy fat finger syndrome, and my all the other kids I had lessons with were just like completely eclipsing me with their skills and dexterity and everything. But I think when I had a new teacher come to the school and start like saying, hey, what songs do you want to learn on the guitar? What do you want to play? And I was bringing in tapes of, I guess, things like, I don't know. I mean, Hunters and Collectors, like early sort of Hunters and Collectors stuff, and Violent Femmes things, stuff like that. And I was just started learning songs that I actually dug and wanted to, play like. So that was, definitely my first instrument, guitar. And then I sort of, I picked up the bass when I guess I was about 16. Yeah. And, I started playing with a few friends. I had a few fraught attempts at being a funky kind of guy, and just sort of managed to meet up with my Lucksmiths bandmates in high school, which was which was a good thing. And then, just sort of started writing pop tunes. But I was really into like lead guitar still at that point. And I having a joining a band with someone like Marty Donald, who was strumming a lot of guitar chords, simple chords, gave me a lot of room to move as a bass player. So I think that's I sort of was hearing the bass as a second melodic instrument with the vocals. So and without a full drum kit there to sort of like lock in with, it was just sort of like a bit more of a broad canvas to work on there. So it was that sort of led me down the path of bass playing. Was definitely meeting up with Marty.
It's so true. That's my favorite thing about the sound of Lucksmiths. It reminds me a lot of The Cure, where Robert Smith, who was the lead songwriter, was the bass player. And so you're right. It's that blend of the bass and the drums for the most part I quite like, because Tali is singing while playing. My favorite bass riff of yours is 22. It's a really early one. It's that do 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 do. I love that, man. It's so good.
I love it when people sing bass lines to me. Such a wonderful, fulfilling feel. Oh my god. Thanks. Yeah, that was thank you. So, I mean, coming up with curly bass lines like that was probably just what kept me going. There was a whole bunch of other bands that sort of happened in high school and stuff, but it was all like, Hendrix covers and things like that. But I think it was like getting to sort of just noodle around with, those Lucksmiths things was really what I was into, kind of fill out the gaps a bit.
Yeah. I'm so curious about how you formed Lost and Lonesome, because obviously, so we've just had the 25th anniversary of the label. You were really young when you started it, and the Lucksmiths, from memory, because you guys were still on Candle for ages, right?
Yeah. So, I don't know. Because the Lucksmiths were we were happily on Candle Records, and Chris Crouch was one of our best friends, and all the bands were awesome. I guess what happened was there was only a certain amount of bands that could fit on that record label, and Melbourne was full of, not just Melbourne but Australia and overseas. So many bands that I loved that weren't on a label, and Jane McCracken and I started the label just to kind of, because we'd put out, respectively, knew how to contact the place to get CDs made. We knew how to get bromides made to get the covers printed. We knew like the 2 or 3 things that were essential to getting things made. CDs primarily. We kind of just fancied ourselves as a record label because of that very reason. We had no business now whatsoever. Jane, I guess, had a bit more of a sense of cleanliness than I. So she had the office at her house, and I just had a lounge room full of boxes. So I was like the storage space, and she was like the tidy setup. But we just sort of we just started releasing friends of ours things and helping them put them out. And I mean, I don't think we ever really were like, we're a record label, we were just figuring it out as we went, and luckily, we just sort of made lots of friends in the process, and just kept going because of that.
You guys have put out some amazing stuff. I'm a massive fan of Fred Astaire, and when I came to the anniversary gig last year, it was amazing to see him live, because I don't know whether he performs that much, really. And Anthony Atkinson, who we've covered his album on this show, we absolutely love Anthony Atkinson. You've done some amazing stuff, man. Like, do you I'd love to ask you about, because obviously the premise of the show is like perfect albums. Do people just like send you albums? Like, do you find you're listening to a lot of new music? Like, how do you go about deciding, what you release as a record label and stuff?
Yeah. Well, I guess, there is a certain, like, I'm definitely trying to keep things rather contained, especially now I've stopped sort of working with bands overseas, just because it's kind of just, hard. It's just hard.
Yeah.
Hard and it's expensive, and there's no bands to play shows and promote it. It's just no, I do. There's definitely still, Melbourne still hasn't slowed down as a music city, I guess, and the regionals as well. Not so much like bands from interstate contacting me or anything, but yeah, just mostly, I guess, just the outer realms of the already sort of solidified Lost and Lonesome Inner Sanctum. There's friends, there's little tendrils going off in all directions, just sort of, so there'll be, there's I do receive quite a lot of submissions as a label, and it's just hard. I mean, I can't obviously do everything, and I'm about to turn 50. I've got a family. I've got, and it's just like, it's not a business that it's a sinking business, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It's going under. I'm just barely keeping it. My own creative output is stymied because of that very thing as well. I'm up at 3 a.m. entering metadata, and it's like I could be sleeping. I could be writing a song. I could be doing a drawing, but I'm like typing on a computer. It's not what I kind of expected.
Yeah.
I expected running a record label. I thought I'd be out at a cocktail party or something like that.
Yeah. So you are in so many bands still. Obviously, the Lucksmiths have sadly, split up about 10 years ago now or so. But
14, 15 now.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow, man.
14 and a half, yeah.
But obviously, you've got Last Leaves, you've got Monnone Alone. Can you tell me a little bit about your songwriting process and how you start, and also just the craft of when you start writing songs? Do you think about an album, or do you just think about the song?
Well, it sort of happens in different ways. Like, I mean, the last Monnone Alone album I did was during the lockdowns, and that was just a completely different process for me because my friend Jane, who I started Lost and Lonesome with, let me borrow her 8-track and a little cassette 8-track machine, and I never sort of recorded myself at home. I mean, I'd done a little bit here and there on Reaper or whatever, but nothing, not a fully realized album or anything. So I just sort of started messing around on that, and then I was getting all these ideas down on tape, and it started to have a bit of a flow. And then I was like, oh, well, I guess it's an album now. Like, I guess I'm making an album. And like, originally I was just like, I'll record some of these ideas as demos that I can show my bandmates in Monnone Alone. And then I was just like, you know what? These guys probably can't play this shit as well as I can, so I'm going to keep my own, listen to that sweet guitar lick. And I just decided, that became the album. But at the moment, I've been working on new songs. Well, before I recorded that album, which was Stay Foggy, which came out after the pandemic, I had been recording demos with Gus, the drummer in Monnone Alone.
Yeah, right.
And that just got shelved, and now that sort of all those songs are starting to sort of come to some kind of realization. So so I'm working on these songs as an album, and it's kind of it's a bit harder to working on it that way, because it's like you've got this kind of concrete concept of how it's going to be at the end, whereas like if you're just fiddling around coming up with ideas and no real I mean, it's a different process to just sitting down, writing a song, and then going out on the road and touring, that's how we did all the Lucksmiths stuff. We just write songs on tour, and then finally we'd be like, oh yeah, let's record that. So this is sort of, I don't get to do much touring these days, so it's more just sort of focused, trying to write an album, and there's like 2 or 3 songs that just won't write themselves. So who knows if this album's actually ever going to see the light of day. There'll probably be another 2 or 3 in between.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember listening not that long ago to an interview with John Darnielle from the Mountain Goats and the lead singer of Cake, talking about how the idea of an album is pretty much dead these days because people just don't really do it. Like, for the most part, artists, and you've got big artists like Taylor Swift and stuff, but a lot of artists these days just put out singles on streaming, and that's kind of how they, or Bandcamp or something. Do you think that the art of the album is dead, or do you still enjoy just sitting down and listening to an album from start to finish?
I still enjoy that, but yeah, that's just sort of, I guess that's how I learned to listen to music. I'm not saying that, I don't always listen to music that way. I stream stuff and I'll happily listen to a bunch of singles and, let, whichever streaming service do its thing, play its radio, or, tap into my algorithm and just go for it, which is fun as well. Like, it's a good way to discover new music. But I mean, I can see the benefits of just doing, a bunch of singles whenever, and I like artists that do that as well.
Same. Yep.
There's nothing governing that you need to put like 12 songs on a record and go, that's it. It's just like, there's people who've got like 50 singles out and they don't care. They're not going to go, oh, I'm going to make an album out of that. It's just music, and it's to be listened to however people get into it.
Yeah, 100%. I've gotten really into the new Spotify. I've just put out that AI DJ that it pops in kind of every 4 or 5 tracks and just talks to you and tells you what it's going to play next. And then it just goes off on its own thing. It's like, here's music you were listening to a lot in 2017, and just plays 5 random tracks. Like,
oh wow, that sounds mind blowing.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
It's weird how the to what you were saying, Billy, the album as a concept is such a foreign thing to anyone who's only grown up in the, I've talked, because I've got Mark, I've got 2 11-year-olds and a 15-year-old. So other than the fact that I love vinyl and Billy and I do this show, which I kind of force them to understand what an album is, but their generation just, because they've never really been exposed to physical media. So the idea of an artist telling them, this is the order that you listen to these songs, I've carefully curated this thing, and it takes you on a journey. Yeah. It's so foreign to them.
Yeah.
They're like,
absolutely. It's more of a choose your own adventure for the kids these days, isn't it?
Putting a vinyl record on, and they're like, so how do you shuffle it? You can't. Strap yourselves in, kids. You start at 1 and you go through to whatever it finishes. And that's how it goes. It's such a bizarre concept to anyone who's sort of come up in this streaming age, where not only do you not have this sort of curated list of songs in an order, but it's all playlists. Everything's on shuffle. Everything's AI driven or algorithm driven. And
I love streaming though. I'm all about my main playlist I listen to just has like 3,000 songs in it, and I just hit shuffle on it, and I get
pretty much everything you've given me on this show. I reckon 50% of the albums you've given me on this show, Billy, are things that you have discovered through the you like the Lucksmiths, so you might like this 100%.
band. That's how I got into Math and Physics Club, who I absolutely love, and I was so sad when obviously that all happened. But they've now got 2 new bands. There's Model Shop and Field School, and I was really sad that Field School's new album wasn't on Spotify. But that's all right. I've bought it.
Just to spite you.
Yeah. But so, Mark, you've been a part of so many bands and released so many albums. It must be hard, but do you have a favorite album that you've contributed to in some way, whether it's one that you played on or one that you were just really proud of producing or releasing? Like,
yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of Lucksmiths records that I think are really awesome. And for me, it's hard to listen to them without feeling nostalgic for the time that we recorded them, because most of them we tried, we did our best to do something unusual, go out of town, find a log cabin somewhere, and do something cool and have a special time recording it. There's no specific Lucksmiths one that I love more than another one, but I don't know. There's actually probably the album that I love a lot that I played on. I wouldn't say it's a perfect album or anything, but just the way I think because it was so immediate, like how it was recorded. It's impossible to find, and it's hopefully I'm going to reissue it on Lost and Lonesome at some point. But it's this band called the Mosquitoes, and it's there's a guy called Drew. He's an American dude, and he for a few tours has been like the fourth Lucksmith before Louis joined and became the official fourth Lucksmith. Drew would come along and play guitar with us. And then he came back to Australia. Instead of us paying him for all this touring, we were like, hey, we'll buy you. We're on our way back to the airport to leave after a tour, and we're like, why don't you come back to Australia? We'll buy you a ticket, and that's your payment. And he was like, okay. So he came back and lived on my lounge room couch for 3 months, and he just was just writing songs every day. And then we got this 8-track that I've been using, Jane's 8-track. This is in like 2003 actually. So we just sat down and started recording an album, and he asked me to play drums, which I don't do that often. And so I played drums on this album, and he played everything else. And he's just such an amazing, brilliant musician, and just comes up with these great classic pop songs, sort of bubblegum pop, but there's also, he's kind of all over the shop. He's into like Grateful Dead. He's into like metal. He's into kind of everything. But yeah, he just wrote these beautiful songs, and I'll have to find an old CDR and send it to you, because
that'd be amazing. Yeah.
Bubblegum, and Billy just perked up.
Oh yeah. I'm a twee kid at heart. Everything I love is bubblegum pop, and that's amazing. If you find
it's just these songs are just every time I hear, I'm like, how did anyone write this incredible nugget of, and he went on to he'll kill me if he ever hears me talking about this, because he's now got an alter ego, and he's kind of like a punk rock sort of like rebel like guy. He's got a band called Personal and the Pizzas, and it's all like, it started out as a sort of jokey thing, just songs about pizza, but sort of done in like Ramones-y, Stooges sort of style.
Oh, nice.
But and he's just still a brilliant musician. I'd love to sort of dig out his first few tapes and things as well, and get them reissued or something like that.
That'd be amazing. Oh, if you do reissue them, I'll buy them straight away. But if you find an old CDR or something, hit me up. That'd be so sick.
I will. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty lo-fi and everything. But actually, Carl Smith from SodaStream. Yeah, the band SodaStream. He mixed it, and just remember going to his like, he didn't know what he was doing either. It was just like all of us were like, "Oh, I've got this tape. Can you put it into the computer?" And so he did his best, and it sounds cool. It just somehow turned out to be this freak thing. It sounds great.
That's awesome, man. That's a great story. That's cool.
What's
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. What's your favorite album that you haven't had a part in? Like an album that maybe inspired you, or that just musically you really love?
There's probably a few I'd love to talk about, but I guess the main one is, and any of my friends would be like, "Oh God, Monnone, get a favorite album. I'm sick of this one." But it's this album called Jonathan Sings by Jonathan Richman and the Modern Lovers.
Yeah.
So it was a 1983 album, I just fell head over heels for this record. Well, cassette actually when I got it. Marty Donald from the Lucksmiths. We were at Batman Records one day down in, I think it was Elizabeth Street. I think it was on. And he found a tape, and he was like, "Oh, this is the guy that like there was a band in Melbourne that used to do a cover of one of his songs, "Hey There, Little Insect."
Yeah.
And it was like, "Hey, this is hurdy-gurdy do this song," and I was like, "Cool, I'll take that." Yoink. And then it was like, I don't know, $6 or something like that, brand new at Batman. I went back to my car, a little orange Honda, put it in the tape deck, and then like started playing it, and then it got stuck in the tape deck. It wouldn't come out.
This is a trauma that kids these days will never understand. That moment of panic when you hear that.
Oh my God. Like at first it was like, oh geez, like I was still like, well, I put the tape on and I was like, I have no idea when this guy is from. Like it sounds like it could have, this album could have been recorded anywhere like 1962 and, you know, whatever year that was when I heard it, 93. It just sounded timeless, and it just blew my mind. Like this, the songs and Jonathan's, his little introductions to the songs and stuff. It's just like, I was like, this guy's like off the planet. And I got stuck in my car, and I did the thing with the knives, you know, to yoink it out.
Yeah.
And it just wouldn't come out. And so we drove around for a whole summer, and I think I was the only one with my license. So I was driving my buddies around all summer, and we had to listen to that tape over and over and over. And it just worked its way into my DNA. It's like in me, and I know every line, every single word. I know every little ad lib bit backwards. You know, I know the drumming on that record is so beautiful and so musical, and the organ playing and Jonathan's guitar playing, like, and the two female backing vocalists. It just treads the finest line between super cheesy and just super heartfelt and just incredible. I think at that point I was like, you know, listening to a lot of punk rock and things like that, and it just took me into a new direction.
Yeah. I'm the same. I'm a massive Jonathan Richman fan. I was a kid and I was the same. I was mostly into punk rock. I taught myself playing guitar, playing Blink-182 and stuff like that, because it was so incredibly easy to play and learn. And I was, how old was I when Something About Mary came out? I must have been like 11 or something, and that was my introduction to Jonathan Richman, because he's in that film. Right. He plays a number of songs, including one of my favorites, True Love Is Not Nice. And I was the same. I was like, man, I love this guy. Because you're right, it's so timeless. Like, it does. It sounds like it could be from the 60s or the 90s. Like, it's... I
know. It's where... And you know, he was like... Obviously, if you go back and listen to any of his records, it's completely out of step with what else is going on at that time. Like, you know, he sort of was like proto-punk or whatever you call him, at the start of the 70s. And then, like, midway through, he's just like, I'm just going to play my guitar to kids in the hospital, and try and cheer them up. And it was just like people were tripping out on why this sort of punk dude is like starting to do these kids songs and nursery rhymes but then again, and then he did, in the early 80s, he started kind of going adult contemporary. He was writing songs about his wife and all that sort of stuff. But then he still had his, songs about, the chewing gum rapper and stuff like that. His favorite baseball player, so just one of a kind, such a unique dude. And like,
check this guy out.
Yeah, you'd love it.
I am aware of Modern Lovers purely as the thing that Jerry Harrison did before Talking Heads. I don't think I've ever heard any, and I didn't even know the name Jonathan Richman. And obviously, I've seen Something About Mary, and I thought that was one of the Farrelly brothers. I didn't even know it was. Rather shamefacedly, I'm going to be checking that out straight after we finish recording.
Oh man, seriously! Like, he could jump in anywhere. Like, I was just thinking back. Like, the last time he toured Australia was in 1997, and his album Surrender to Jonathan had just come out, and that like I was just thinking about that. I mean, that's like an amazing breakup record. If you listen to that record, but it's so well written. It's like, you know, you listen to his records now and he still puts out amazing records, but it's just like almost stream of consciousness. He's just singing whatever comes off the dome. That record, he's like, it's so concisely put together. The words, they just like nail you. Like, you know, it's such a heartbreaker. It's a beautiful record.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should check it out, Dave.
You
ready to have your heart broken?
Haven't we all? No, but yeah, I mean, Billy as well. But no, you've utterly sold me on this guy. I'm going to be doing a bit of a deep dive tonight, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, just keep your mind open though. You know, because like, I mean, those late '70s albums are incredible. Like before he sort of there's just little, like almost 2 or 3 the groupings of the albums that he did. You can sort of hear where he was going at each stage. And then there's the country album, which is just like sublime.
Yeah.
Love a bit of country.
Yeah. In fact, not that long ago, Dave gave me Red-Headed Stranger, Willie Nelson album on this show.
Oh, wow.
Which I'd never listened to before. I didn't know Willie Nelson could sing.
He's good when he wants to be.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Have you ever, like, I mean, Willie, have you ever seen any clips of him when he was super young?
No, but he was a good-looking bird. He was...
I know, definitely. Wouldn't kick him out of bed.
It's the pigtails, isn't it?
He was a handsome man. Just say, an amazing singer.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Mark,
Billy, I can see your I can see in the video your RoboVac is doing a little drive-by.
Yeah, you know what it's like with kids in the house. We have to get that guy come out twice a day now.
This is not the first episode where someone's been distracted by the robot in the
background. Mark, thank you so much for taking the time to join us, man. This has just been amazing. I've been such a fan of you for so long in so many different things. I love Monnone Alone. We've listened,
thanks a lot.
We've done the Last Leaves album on this show, and I can't wait for another album. Which when I saw Last Leaves in November, there was some new songs played. So I'm hoping that there's going to be some new stuff coming out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the story is, but I think that, Marty moved from Brunswick to Belgrave in like whenever that was, the late noughties, and he hasn't slowed down the songwriting. It's just I think he's just like, the pace of cranking things out sort of slowed down. So our first record, I think we basically recorded that within the first year or so, and it took 5 years to come out. So and that came out in 2017. So what is it now? 2020. Oh, jeez. Yeah. So that's 7 years.
Yeah.
So all right, we're going to get it out this year. The new album's great. Like, it's going to be great.
Yeah.
All the songs are Ace Marty's songwriting is just getting better.
Oh, he's an amazing songwriter. I mean, so are you though. Dave and I often argue because his favorite Lucksmiths song, I think, is one that you wrote, T-Shirt Weather. You wrote that, didn't you? Yeah.
I was going to say, before you go, can you settle an ongoing feud as to what the greatest Lucksmiths song is? Because much as I love Sunlight in a Jar, as far as I'm concerned, T-Shirt Weather is the greatest pop song of the 2000s.
Whereas mine is Sunlight in a Jar. Yeah.
Oh, thanks, guys. It's
Sunlight in a Jar is a great song. It's the second best song on Warmer Corners after Young and Dumb. So, it's good.
What's the best song off Warmer Corners?
Young and Dumb.
Dave, you're tripping.
You wrote that one as well, didn't you, Mark?
I did.
Yeah.
I did, mate.
Yeah.
Love it. Absolutely love it.
Thanks, mate. That's very kind.
But thank you so much for joining us. You're an amazing songwriter, an amazing musician, and I absolutely adore Lost and Lonesome as a record label. So it's just been such an honor to chat with you. So we can't thank you enough, man.
You guys are
privilege.
too kind. You guys are too kind. You're going to need to do some serious editing on this. Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to have a chat. Thank you for asking me on the show.
No worries. Thanks heaps, man.
Absolute pleasure.
Yeah, awesome. Take care.
Thanks heaps, man.
See ya.
Bye.